Welcome, gentlemen, if you've ever caught yourself thinking that the best days of romance are behind you, that the world of connection and attraction belongs only to the young, then this message is for you. Many older men quietly step back from the dating world, not because they lack desire, but because they carry the quiet weight of doubt. They assume that their age is a barrier, that the lines on their face or the slower pace of their stride make them invisible to the eyes of younger women. But what if the very thing you believe disqualifies you is the reason you stand out? What if your years of lived experience, your calm sense of purpose, your clarity in the face of emotional noise, what if those are the qualities younger women silently long for, but rarely find in a world where so many chase flash over depth and charm over character? Your presence, when rooted in authenticity and quiet confidence, becomes not only rare, but irresistible. So before you count yourself out, I invite you to stay with me. Through this video, we'll explore the surprising truths about what draws younger women to older men, not gimmicks, not games, but grounded, genuine qualities that no amount of youth can replace, because you don't need to be younger. You need to be fully you, and to know why that still matters. Let's begin. Number 1, kindness, the ultimate weapon over bad boy energy in a world where emotional performances often replace emotional presence. Kindness remains a quiet force that doesn't clamor for attention, yet alters the emotional atmosphere of any relationship it touches for women, particularly those who have grown tired of being charmed and discarded by emotionally distant men. The presence of genuine kindness does not go unnoticed. It is not softness mistaken for weakness, but rather evidence of an internal compass calibrated by emotional maturity and respect for others, unlike the fleeting thrill of the man who plays games to provoke desire. A man who leads with warmth and grounded sincerity awakens something more enduring in a woman. His words are not dipped in honey to deceive, and his gaze is not cast as bait for validation. Instead, he offers something increasingly rare in modern dynamics: the comfort of being seen without judgment and engaged without expectation. For many women, that kind of attention is not only disarming, but also magnetic. Kindness, when expressed not as a strategy, but as a reflection of self-possession, becomes one of the most masculine traits a man can display. It communicates that he is not fighting to prove his dominance, nor chasing approval to soothe insecurity. Rather, he chooses to treat others well, because he has already come to terms with who he is. And when a woman senses that she leans in, not because she's conquered, but because she's respected, attraction built on safety rather than chaos creates a different kind of intimacy, one that doesn't burn out quickly but deepens over time. A woman may not recount every compliment ever paid to her, but she will always remember the man who made her feel emotionally safe without having to perform for affection while bravado fades. The impact of kindness endures to the emotionally intelligent man. Kindness is not something to be rationed, it's not transactional, nor is it handed out in exchange for attention. It is rooted in a deeper philosophy that how a man treats others speaks more about his strength than any facade he could maintain. And in that steadiness, many women find what they were looking for all along. Not just someone interesting, but someone trustworthy, even in a culture flooded with temporary thrills and theatrical confidence. A man who carries himself with quiet grace becomes a rare presence, and for the right woman, that presence is not only noticed, it is cherished. Number 2, dress well. Don't let age be an excuse for neglect. There is something undeniably powerful about a man who dresses with quiet intention, not with extravagance or trend-chasing desperation, but with the kind of care that signals present self-regard and an enduring will to participate in life. To women who are attuned not only to words, but to the signals beneath them, the way a man dresses communicates volumes often before he even speaks. When a man chooses clothing that fits well and complements the season of life he's in, he is not simply selecting fabric. He is engaging in a subtle yet deeply expressive act: the refusal to disappear. Well-worn jeans replaced by tailored trousers, unshapen tees traded for shirts with character. These decisions suggest that he has not surrendered to time or cynicism. His appearance then becomes a statement of quiet resilience. She may not compliment him outright, but she notices, she registers the alignment between how he holds himself and what he chooses to wear, it tells her that he still believes in his relevance, still considers himself worthy of care. For many men, the temptation to hide behind the excuse of aging is persistent comfort routine or emotional fatigue creep in. But the man who continues to present himself with dignity stands out not for defiance of age, but for his harmony with it. His clothes aren't meant to mask time, but to honor the experience he's lived through. There is a lure in that honesty. A woman senses it instinctively. Scent too belongs to this language, unlike vision, which is immediate, or hearing, which fades with distraction. Scent lingers. A signature cologne applied with restraint becomes an invisible echo. Studies have shown that scent is neurologically intertwined with emotional memory. A certain fragrance, when consistently worn, can leave an impression so lasting that it stirs recollection even in one's absence. A man who understands this wields something quietly magnetic. He leaves not only a presence in a room, but an imprint in the air around her thoughts in the mind of a woman. These elements, appearance, scent, the effort that surrounds them, combine to answer a question. She rarely speaks aloud. Has he given up? If the answer is no, she feels it before she consciously realizes it, not because he tries too hard, but because he tries at all. And in a world where so many retreat inward, the act of showing up in spirit, in presentation, in detail, is a form of masculine presence that does not need to be announced. It simply is. Number 3, maturity. You are her calm in a chaotic world. There is something quietly magnetic about a man who does not chase validation, who does not rise and fall with the opinions or tempers of those around him in the presence of such men. Many women, especially younger women, navigating a world of emotional noise and social volatility, begin to feel something they may not have known they were searching for. Calm, not the absence of excitement, but a steady rhythm, a deeper anchor beneath the surface-level chaos of modern life. He does not flinch at discomfort nor shrink from disagreement. Where others react with defensiveness or emotional theatrics, he remains composed. His maturity isn't loud or boastful. It reveals itself in the way he listens, without interrupting, responds without accusation, and remains still when provoked. His calm is not apathy, but the earned grace of someone who no longer needs the approval of the crowd to validate his truth. For women who have grown used to impulsive responses and emotionally inconsistent partners, this steadiness becomes unforgettable. The contrast is striking. While others demand attention, he offers clarity. While others spark drama, he de-escalates with presence in relationships. This kind of emotional composure becomes more than a preference. It becomes a source of safety. Her nervous system softens in his presence, not because he fixes her world, but because he never adds to its storm. Women are instinctively drawn to signals of safety and reliability, not just physical but emotional. When a man embodies a sense of internal order, he radiates a kind of leadership that cannot be imitated. His maturity is not performative, it is integrated. It shows in how he allows space for emotion without being consumed by it, how he holds boundaries without hostility, how he detaches from drama without disengaging from intimacy. This kind of man rarely explains his maturity. He doesn't need to. It is visible in his refusal to compete for attention, in the way he does not flinch when silence stretches between them, in how he lets others have their storms without letting those storms define his internal weather. And it's precisely this restraint, this internal structure, that allows her to collapse into something she rarely finds in the world. Peace. She may not be able to put words to it at first, but over time she'll come to recognize it, not as boredom or passivity, but as stability, a force that does not dominate, but steadies. He becomes, in her emotional landscape, the cliff against which the waves may crash, but never move. He does not try to prove that he is unshakable, he simply is, and that is why she keeps returning. Not because he fills every silence with words, but because he fills every moment with presence. Number 4, honesty. No mind games, no manipulation. In a world increasingly saturated with curated personas and emotionally evasive behavior, sincerity has become a quiet form of rebellion. And for many women it is not just desirable, it is essential. Not because truth is always easy to receive, but because it is the only foundation strong enough to support something real. A man who lives with honest intent, who speaks not to manipulate emotions, but to reveal himself, plainly becomes a rare and valuable figure in a woman's emotional landscape. This kind of man didn't arrive at honesty through convenience. He likely spent years learning. Sometimes painfully, that avoidance creates more damage than discomfort ever could. Perhaps he once tiptoed around the truth, telling half versions of what he felt, hoping to spare someone else's emotions or protect his own. But with time and experience, it became clear: when truth is delayed, pain is amplified, misunderstandings fester in silence, and relationships built on ambiguity eventually collapse under the weight of unspoken realities. What separates the man who has grown into this awareness is not a sharp tongue, or the thrill of calling things as he sees them. His honesty doesn't seek applause, it's not performative. Instead, it emerges from a quiet confidence that does not fear consequences when he speaks. He does so with the steady conviction of someone who would rather be momentarily misunderstood than permanently misaligned with his values. He doesn't hedge his truths with nervous qualifiers. He doesn't lace his messages with double meanings. He simply says what is real without cruelty and games. A woman can feel this difference almost immediately. There is no posturing, no subtle manipulation. His words are not hooks cast to provoke or bait. They are bridges extended to create clarity. When he says what he means and means what he says, she doesn't have to study his tone or reread his text looking for subtext. There is no puzzle, and in that simplicity, she finds the kind of trust that isn't built over months. It's felt in moments. This quality becomes even more striking in contrast to the world around him. So many interactions today are filtered through a layer of strategic calculation. Social media teaches people to edit themselves. Dating culture rewards nonchalance. Invulnerability is often treated as a liability, but a man who rejects that noise, who shows up fully without rehearsed lines or hidden motives, offers something increasingly scarce: emotional safety. It's not that his words are always pleasing. They may challenge, confront, or even disappoint, but they are never misleading, and because of that, even his disagreements feel trustworthy. A woman may not like every truth he shares, but she will come to respect the unwavering integrity behind it. In his presence, she doesn't have to fear that she's being handled or placated. She knows she is being engaged as a full person, not a set of reactions to manage over time. That consistency becomes magnetic. It doesn't dazzle with spectacle. It doesn't need to. It communicates strength in its restraint and courage in its candor. A woman who encounters this energy often finds herself drawn in, not because of charm or cleverness, but because of the rare comfort of knowing where she stands, and that clarity, more than any sweet word or grand gesture, is what lingers in her memory. When a man chooses to live this way, to strip away pretense and speak only what aligns with his core, he becomes not only more trustworthy but more respected. He enters fewer rooms trying to impress, and instead begins to command attention by simply being grounded in truth. This doesn't make him immune to rejection or disappointment, but it gives him something far more enduring: self-respect. And that ultimately is the quality that speaks the loudest, because when a man is honest with others, it reflects one deeper and harder one: truth. He has finally learned to be honest with himself. Number 5, radiate positivity. Live for yourself and let joy be your magnet. There is a rare kind of magnetism that cannot be manufactured. It unfolds quietly in men who no longer seek validation from the world around them. Their fulfillment doesn't arrive in applause or praise, but in the calm certainty that life, even in its simplest form, is enough. In a culture obsessed with visibility, spectacle, and performance, this kind of man walks a different path. One defined not by what he can gather, but by how deeply he feels at home within himself. Women are finally attuned to this difference, especially younger women, who may still be trying to sort through the emotional chaos of identity, uncertainty, and the pressure to be more than they feel they are. What they often seek, consciously or not, is not perfection, not extravagance, but steadiness. And steadiness in its most attractive form radiates from a man who finds meaning in his own company and lives with emotional independence. He doesn't rely on female attention to feel worthy. He doesn't perform to impress. Instead, he lives according to his internal compass, and that quiet integrity becomes unmistakably magnetic. A man like this can walk into a room without needing to dominate it. His presence doesn't announce itself with volume, but with depth. His body language isn't theatrical, but grounded. He listens fully, responds thoughtfully, and leaves behind a feeling of calm rather than a need to be remembered. It's not detachment he embodies. It's contentment, and contentment, when genuine, cannot be faked. It arises from a life refined by self-understanding and crafted from experiences that have weathered vanity, ego in the endless chase for more. Women may smile at many men, but they lean toward the ones who are lit from within. They recognize when a man isn't trying to draw them in, but simply glows from the kind of joy that can't be staged. It's the joy of doing things that matter deeply to him, not because someone is watching, but because those things are aligned with who he is. He works not for applause, but for excellence. He moves not for attention, but for vitality. He laughs not to charm, but because life, even on quiet days, still holds wonder. This kind of emotional self-sufficiency doesn't come from ego. It comes from doing the inner work that most avoid, sitting with silence, healing old wounds without broadcasting them, and defining success by personal standards, not performance. Such a man may have faced rejection, disappointment, and seasons of loneliness, but instead of hardening or collapsing, he used those experiences to carve out a softer, steadier strength. And it's that strength that women respond to, not the loud kind, but the kind that can hold space without needing to fill it with noise. There is also something deeply reassuring for a woman when she encounters a man who enjoys his life without needing hers to make it complete. He isn't waiting to be rescued from boredom or carried away from emotional vacancy. He is already full, and not in a way that leaves no room for love, but in a way that ensures love won't be asked to fix what he has already learned to tend on his own. In his presence, there is no silent pressure to perform or entertain. Instead, there is the invitation to slow down, to breathe, to be real. Women don't fall in love with perfection. They fall for peace, for emotional safety, for the confidence that doesn't require explanation. And in this man, they often find what the world has failed to give them: stability that doesn't stifle passion, that doesn't demand, and joy that exists whether or not they choose to stay. That kind of joy is rare, but once felt, it's unforgettable. In the end, the most compelling men are not always those who shine the brightest in the crowd, but those who carry light, quietly offering it not as a spectacle, but as a sanctuary. They don't live for applause, they live for meaning. And it is in that meaning that true attraction is born, not from charm or cleverness, but from the undeniable gravity of a man who is truly, fully, joyfully himself. Your age is not a limitation, it's a privilege. It's easy for older men to believe that time has quietly moved them to the sidelines of the dating world, that youth has taken center stage, leaving them with little more than nostalgia and hesitation. But what often goes unnoticed is that age, in its quiet dignity, holds something far more magnetic than fleeting charm. It carries the calm of self-assurance, the wisdom of lived experience, and the strength of emotional clarity. These are the very things many younger women seek, not because they are searching for someone older, but because they are drawn to someone deeper. The traits we've explored: kindness, presence, maturity, honesty, personal style, and inner joy, are not tools for manipulation, but reflections of a man who has grown into himself. They show a life that's not defined by trend or approval, but by consistency, purpose, and self-respect. A life that doesn't chase attention, but naturally attracts it for many women, especially those still navigating the uncertainties of their own lives. This grounded presence is not just appealing, it's stabilizing. There's no need to compete with younger men, nor is there any need to apologize for growing older when a man steps into the world carrying the full weight of his authenticity. He becomes someone others are drawn to, not for what he promises, but for what he already is. And that kind of presence can't be faked, rushed, or borrowed. It has to be lived. If you found something meaningful in this message, I invite you to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. What lessons has age brought you? What moments helped you understand your value? Let's open up that conversation together. And if you'd like to continue exploring more insights on connection, personal growth, and the quiet power of being fully yourself, be sure to subscribe to the channel. There's still so much more to discover.